And I'm Evan Seymour. Thank you so much for coming out. This is our first Black Women in Entertainment screening. So we're at our inaugural event. Thank you for being here. Also, thank you to our amazing partners at Amazon MGM Studios and at Orion Pictures for allowing us to share this amazing film with y'all. Y'all, it is a wild ride, so get ready.
But thank you all for coming out to this amazing screening. My name is Chanel Janae, entertainment reporter, and I am just extremely grateful to be moderating this panel with two amazing women that I'm very excited to talk to. So let's just go ahead and get them out here. Miss ALESHEA Harris, the director of Is God Is. Alexander. Fabulous. First of all, congratulations to you both for this amazing body of work. But we're just gonna jump right into it. And I believe one of the things that I really appreciate about this movie is that it treats Black women's rage as something sacred, as a divine mandate, if you will. And it allows Black women the space to be messy, to be chaotic, to be quite literally unhinged. And I really appreciate that. But I would love to know for you both, why was it important for you to center rage in this way and to be a part of a story that lets Black women go full steam ahead in their anger?
Yeah, I'll say that it's because I understand that's not allowed, right? It's against the rules for as I understand them, for Black women to be very expressive in our rage. I think people pathologize it. I think they stereotype us. I think they're dismissive of our anger and they're not interested, they're not curious about where it comes from. So that's why I wanted to give it, or some of the reasons why I wanted to give it
I have watched over the years when Black women have expressed rage or anger or any of those things, that we get guilt tripped and shamed for it and told how it's affecting that person or that group, as opposed to sort of saying they have a right to their story. You know, we have street poets every day that go and say, you know, you got to hear our pain and our story, and it's important that we put it in our vernacular, and it lands where it lands. Sin that's been perpetrated on women, and especially Black women, has been loss of voice, a loss of agency. And if we take it back by centering them and saying not only do they have rage, they're going to go through this great adventure, and they're going to do it with joy and oddness and craziness and all that other stuff, and the fact that this beautiful, very intelligent woman brought us through there. We should be
as visible as her sisters. She's the one who's most outwardly expressive of her rage. She's the one that's full force in the front with the bat, ready to cause harm to anyone. Whereas Anaya, her scars may be the most visible, but she's suppressed by her anger. She holds her inside. And I would love to know, what message did you want audiences to take away when it comes to the differences in handling trauma?
Yeah, well, you know, when I wrote these characters, I wasn't thinking message at all, right? It was really like, what is activating them? What are their given circumstances? What are they moving through? But I do think it's worthwhile to sit with the fact that the difference in the way that these young women responded to trauma is the reason for like the bifurcation of their relationship. And I also want them to sit with what it costs the person who's seeking revenge to seek revenge. Because I think that if the response to a harm is to go and cause harm, then it could be re-traumatizing.
You know, knowing different types of men who want to goad women into trying them so that they can prove their power. Obviously, this film comes at a time where we've unfortunately seen a lot of Black femicide in the headlines. We've unfortunately seen story after story of Black men harming Black women with their own hands, harming their children with their own hands. And I'm wondering if current events at all make you rethink the narrative now and rethink the story. Does it recontextualize it in a way given what's been happening lately?
What's been happening lately has been happening for a long time. This story is a decade old. It was happening then. It will happen tomorrow, unfortunately. So I know that we don't exist in a vacuum. So I do think this is something that I just left another Q&A and a question that I posed about what it means to have a story where certainly as Black people, it means something to us to watch, you know, a story in which there are these acts of violence being committed, right? But there's also something about wanting to tell a story, which I did as a storyteller, that's just kind of kick-ass, that's just fun.
And a bit too quickly, because it took nothing for her to reconsider the narrative, even though her mother had already told her what happened. It only took her a few seconds to start rethinking, well, maybe my mother was wrong. And I feel like that has a lot to do with the charisma and the charm that Sterling had. Why was that important to play up in this movie?
So, so the script in the script, what I wrote was that when we finally see the man's face, it's like Obama, you know? He's meant to be this very charming man who moved to the burbs and tried to paper over all the things that he did, right? I thought that, in terms of the narrative, I thought that that was just a delicious choice. It's subversive, it's surprising, it's not the expected thing, right? But as you say, right, I also like to talk about how there is a way that people who do these kinds of terrible things need that charm. They need, they're handsome people, and it helps them to get away with it.
That we know and has presented evidence over and over again is a certain way we will argue against the woman.
Right.
And continue to, despite our lying eyes. And and that's kind of sad, because I think that why is there an inherent distrust when women say something has happened? And if you think about, look, Megan Thee Stallion, who I worked with on this new show, and she's a lovely young woman who works really hard and Texas and for the elderly and all these other things, and is an artist, gets shot in the foot, and people still say, no, she shot herself in the foot. Why the fuck did she shoot herself in the foot? That's her moneymaker. She needs her feet. That's a straight lie. And the people who know it's a lie the most are black men who've been not only raised by us, they're side by side. The only people who are not scared of us or shouldn't be. But the amount of talk around it needs to be stopped by our warriors at the door. They're the only ones who can protect us from that kind of disgusting talk, because it leaks into everything. It leaks into saying that we're capable and that we have capacity. We have more than capacity and capable. We've had to, and they've lived and seen it. So the first people who should have been saying that brother was alive was them. Nobody's shooting nobody in no damn foot. Why am I upset about that? I don't know.
Divine, a nice charismatic preacher who knew how to cast out a devil with the laying of the hand, as they say. I would love to know but the thing that really gets me about her is the fact that for as much as she purports herself to be a healer, she cannot heal the wounds inside herself. She cannot pinpoint the fact that she is in denial over a man who gave her false promises. And because she exists in this sort of like complicated space, how did you approach bringing her to life in a way that people could somewhat understand her plight, but also be like, girl, you're kind of losing your marbles a little bit?
Well, she didn't have to be grounded in reality. And if you know those people, you know they're not. And I know that both my parents were ministers. My father was a Kojic preacher. They're both orphans. I spent the first 11 years of my life in a hotel called Starlight off of Route 66 in Flagstaff, Arizona, up in the mountains. We depended on the kindness of strangers. He went around, he was an itinerant preacher. It was very difficult to do, because that means you passing the plate and you're getting your salary after they take out for the pastor, the first lady, the building fund, the this, the that, and then suddenly a little envelope comes to you. And after you might have preached, weeks and weeks of revivals, it'd be $60. It's very difficult, and it makes you have to be extreme. You have to heal, you have to call and cast out devils. You have to be memorable so that people talk about you.
And I actually remember the moment when I was actually writing the lawyer's office, and I didn't know where the story was going to go. And I just had the idea, and I felt like, why not twin the twins with another set of twins, right? It just felt like an idea that would allow for a lot of possibility in the story. And it also felt kind of correct. Like, I'm a very instinctive writer. My instinct said, if you put another set of boys, it's delicious, right? It's exciting, and it feels, it's satisfying to twin them with another set of twins who've had a different life.